So we're going to continue talking about must be true, most strongly supported questions. Has anybody, I know Brittany, well, Brittany, you've been studying for a long time. I know Nicole, I haven't really worked with you before, so I'm glad that you're joining. But does everybody have like a basic idea of must be true and most strongly supported?
Yes.
Excellent. I think all of you know all this. So I don't even have to go through this. FYI, I do have a free vlog class on Tuesday. Did anybody join Jasmine's reading comp class this morning?
I forgot she had one.
I think she recorded it. I'll have to get the recording from her.
And you said your free flow class was on Tuesday?
Yes.
At what time?
It's like 11.
I'll go to the web. Is it listed on your website?
Yeah, it's on the website. Yep. Boot camp. I don't have to talk about that because most of you are already in boot camp. Okay, so today for Must Be True, we're going to review kind of just the basic approach to both question types, what's the difference between the two, and really breaking down these stimuluses, and obviously, and then when in doubt, go mild for our answer choices. So quick reminder, and for those of you that have never worked with me before, so I'll use some people that I know for sure. Must be true questions and most strongly supported. Are those bottom up or top down questions? Jasmine. She's like, don't call me yet. Oh, are you on mute?
Okay, is it bottom up? I mean, top down?
Top down, yeah, top down. And what are top down questions, Lisa?
Top down questions are where you're taking what's in the answer choices and you're applying it. I don't remember.
That's okay. No, that's all right. We'll phone a friend. Let's go with Jenny. Do you remember Jenny?
Yeah, top down questions are stuff that's from the stimulus. They have to be in the answer choices. So we want mild.
Yes, we want mild answer choices. And why do we want mild answer choices? Jenny? Oh, Jenny, you're going for it again. Go for it.
I'm sorry, I thought you were still talking to me. You want me to do it, or are you gonna
go for it? Go for it.
Okay, because it's gonna be stuff that's already in the stimulus, so we can't bring any outside information. Yeah, and I guess it's dependent on the language they use in the stimulus as well.
Excellent, excellent. So it's not that we could never have a strong answer choice. It's just we're more likely to have a mild because we have to be either the same level of strength or more mild than our stimulus. And so oftentimes answer choices are wrong because they're too strong. And we're going to see that so much today. So just a reminder. So when I'm going through, especially when I'm doing time sections or sections, even untimed sections at the beginning of my studying, or if I'm not quite to the range I would like, do a section and for each question type, ask yourself, is this bottom up or top down? And it's do it untimed. I don't even care if you do it timed, just do it untimed and really get in your mind of switching. It's easy to do a bunch of questions in a row that are the same kind, right? But it's more difficult when you have to switch. And so that's a great practice to get you almost have it become second nature. All right, so a lot of us know this, so we don't need to go through this part. Again, we're gonna go straight to here. So what is the difference between a must be true and a most strongly supported question? Kamani, good morning, Kamani.
Good morning. Is the must be true like 100% and supported is like 95%?
Yes, excellent. We handle them the same way, but must be trues are like 100% certainty. These are the ones we might say, what can we properly infer from the passage? Where infer means conclusion. Where most strongly supported is like 95% to 100%, but it gives just a little bit more wiggle room. People tend to struggle a little bit more with the supported questions because there's that just a little bit of wiggle room where but typically when we eliminate answer choices on most strongly supported, it'll be because they actually contradict or we don't know anything about them in the stimulus themselves. And so for both of these, I think the best approach for them is one, understanding our stimulus, going sentence by sentence and digesting it. But when we go to the answer choices, don't be afraid to be looking for all the wrong answers before we get to the right. Because I truly think it's easier to kind of know why wrong answer choices are wrong than exactly why the correct answer is right. All right, so let's go ahead and everybody go ahead and read this one silently. And then go ahead and just give me a reaction when you're finished, but just read the stimulus, don't read the question stem.
Mad scientist experiment and those that describes a monstrous beast. So basically we have two types of horror stories, one about mad scientists experiments and then the other one about a monstrous beast. In some horror stories about monstrous beasts, the monster symbolizes a psychological disturbance in the protagonist. So they're talking about the monstrous beasts and they symbolize a psychological disturbance in the protagonist.
And how many of these stories?
Some horror stories.
So what is some?
Not
all. Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
What else? What does anybody want to help her out? Brittany, what is some?
At least one.
At least one. Excellent. So we have a mild word there. Okay. Kamani, can you do the second half, please?
Yeah. Okay. Horror stories about mad scientists, on the other hand, typically express the author's feelings that scientific knowledge alone is not enough to guide human endeavor. So when they're talking about mad scientists, those horror stories, it usually expresses the author's feelings about scientific knowledge and how humans, like, it's not enough.
Okay.
However, despite these differences, both kinds of horror stories share two features. They describe violations of the laws of nature, and they are intended to produce dread in the reader. So despite these differences...
And what part of the argument is that, by the way?
The conclusion?
What is despite these differences typically? What do we call that? What it's referring to? The concession. Excellent.
Concession?
Excellent. Whoever said that, great job. All right, sorry, now go on. What were you gonna say?
That even though there are differences, they do share two things, that they describe the violations of law of nature and they are intended to produce dread in the reader.
Awesome. This is a warm up. Okay, so is this a must be true question or a most strongly supported, Janati?
It's a must be true question, right?
Yes, excellent. Okay, and then last thing, we'll go quicker, I promise, in the future. But is this, so do we want a strong or mild answer choice for this one?
A mild one?
Mild, excellent. All right, everyone, go ahead and look through these answer choices and put your answer in the chat, please. I'll change it so that you can only send it to me so we don't distract each other. All descriptions of monstrous beasts describe violations of the laws of nature. What do we think about this one? Janati, do you like this answer?
I didn't like it because all was kind of a little too strong for me. And I was like,
does every single description of a monstrous beast have to describe the laws of nature?
No.
No, we just know that horror stories have to include.
No, it doesn't.
You're right. We know that the horror stories have to include the laws of nature, but that doesn't mean that's the description of the monstrous beast that's doing that. So it's not A. Brittany, why isn't it B? A lot of people said B.
Because you can have stories that describe the law, like the violation of the law of nature, but they might not be intended to invoke dread.
Right.
Like, not be a horror movie.
Right. Kamani, what do we have to add to this answer to make it true?
like horror stories or
Yeah, any horror stories. Excellent. If we would put do we see here that everyone that picked B, if we would have added horror in there, it would have been correct. But this is saying just any story in general. And that's just too strong for us.
So is any a strong word, or it's because
yeah, any would be all. So this would be saying all stories.
Okay.
Yep, excellent. Jasmine, why is C wrong?
Horror stories of any, I saw any again. So horror stories of any kind, but in up there I said some horror, it says some horror stories. So that's why I said C wasn't the answer.
Yeah, it's too strong. Great, excellent, great job. And then Eamon, sorry, I always pronounce your name incorrectly. Can you correct me and also tell us why D's wrong?
It's Iman, and that's fine. Okay, so most stories about mad scientists express the author's anti-scientific views. It wasn't really mentioned in the stimulus. I don't think it was.
And what does most mean?
Majority?
Yeah, more than 50%. So it's also
Yes.
a very, very strong word.
That's right. Okay.
About express the author's anti-scientific views. Do we ever even mention anti-scientific views?
No.
I don't think we do either. All right, and then Lisa, can you tell us why E is correct?
Some stories that employ symbolism describe violations of the laws of nature. I mean, I like that one because it said some.
Mm-hmm.
And in the conclusion, we talked about that the two stories share two things. I mean, I just kind of went through as I was reading them, and all of the other ones were too strong. And then D, there was no connection. And then I was like, oh, this one says some. And then I read it and I was like, well, it has to be this one.
Right. No, that's a great, like, it's okay in your drilling to go slow and really do what we're doing now, because this is how we're going to get better at the tough questions. But on the test, if we get easier ones, crossing these off like too strong, that's how we get fast at this. But D, so some stories, how do we know that there's at least one story that employs symbolism, but also describes violations of nature? So we know that every single one of these, both stories, right, describe violations, and then the laws of nature are up here. So we know there's at least one horror story that, where am I'm missing it. Laws of nature. Oh, describe violence. Where's symbolism?
And that's why I hesitated on E. I couldn't find symbolism.
It's on the fourth sentence.
Oh, here, the monster symbolizes. There we go. Yes. Okay. So we have at least one that is doing something that symbolizes. And so since we have at least one that does it, and we know all of these ones have described violations of the laws, that's how we know that there's at least one that has both of these things. Do you see that, Jenny?
Yeah, I see it now.
That's why that sum right here is so important. Excellent. Any questions on this one?